Hi, I'm Rob, Skid Steer Genius, and I'm going to show you a couple cool new things. I've been working in machines for almost 30 years now, and I always had professional tools, but they're very, very expensive. And so when we would sell a kit or something, people didn't have a good way of crimping. So in the case of the Deutsch connectors, I would always tell them to solder it because we never could find a good quality tool that people could use and not spend a fortune on. So I've bought many, many tools over the years and tested them. And I found a really good tool. It's very inexpensive. It allows you to get the job done without having to do any soldering. However, it does only work on 14 pins. So unfortunately, if you've still got the old CAT series ABC, or you've got Terex or the older ASVs that come with 8 pins, this isn't going to work for you, and we really don't have a solution. So I'd suggest you just solder. But this works great on the 14 pin one. So I'm gonna actually make something up for you. But I also just wanted to show you this tool. This is our new crimping tool for doing Bobcat 7-pin can connections. And in that case, on the can connection, the crimps are very, very critical because of the way the pins are set up in the sockets. And so again, I've tried many, many tools, and so many of them just did such a crappy job. It got stuck in there. It broke the pins of the sockets. It just made such a mess. It was just horrible. So this tool has been tested. I'm sure you can find something similar on Amazon. However, for the $4 or $5 extra you're going to pay, probably have to send it back because it wrecked your pins. Then you had to buy a new connector. It's well worth just getting the tool from us, and it helps to support the channel. So with that said, I'm going to actually use this tool first, and I'm going to make up a connector and just show you how easy it is to crimp it using this tool. So I'm just going to start with this pigtail that I was going to make up here, and I've pre-slit the sheathing on the outside. It's got some paper in here, and it's got some string. This is all stuff for strain relief and for wear resistance. So I just want to get in here, trim these off so they're not in my way. Okay. Trim these off. Okay. Got my wires all out here. So now I'll bring you into a close-up so you can see better what I'm doing. So now I've trimmed the string off. I'm just going to trim each one, or strip each one of these wires back about 1/4 inch. Okay. Okay, I've got these all stripped back. Super easy. Now, I'm doing pins because this is a machine side connector. So all I do is get to the end here, make sure there's no frayed strands here, push it in, and there's actually a hole in these, and it's kind of an indicator to make sure that you've pushed the wire in far enough. And then this is the crimping tool. I slide it in, and actually I should have, before I did that, I should test this first. Make sure this goes in properly. Sorry, I had it squeezed there. And what I want it to do is I want it to be flush. So there's this little adjuster on this side that I can turn until I can't feel this anymore. Now it's nice and flush. So now when I do it, it's going to crimp it in exactly the same spot every single time. So again, just give this a little roll so there's nothing frayed sticking out. Push that on. Give it a squeeze. And see, this one locks. That's another thing about a better quality tool, is it locks until you've got the exact crimp in place. So it's crimped all the way down properly. That's something else that's really important, is that you've got it crimped all the way down properly here. Some more pins up here. I'm starting to feel like I need glasses when I'm doing this. how many others of you are out there that have eyeglass needs here as you get older. Been doing this for a really long time. See, it's a little bit of a fray there. See, and every time as I push down, see it locks. It's not going to let me release it until it's come down with the proper crimp. So that's really important, because if you buy a cheap tool, like cheaper than this, they don't have that lock, so you're not quite sure if you've got it or not. Right. So it's kind of important to, you don't have to buy the very, very best, but if you're just working as a hobbyist, you want to have a decent tool so that you're not wasting your pins and your time. I love it. I love hearing that positive clicking sound that tells me that, okay, you've done it right this time. Click. Got one more to do here. That one did not want to cooperate with me. There we go. That's it. Got them all crimped. Nothing's coming off. All on there, nice and tight. Good positive crimp, good connection. So now I've got. I know that I'm not going to have issues as I go to put it into the connector. Putting it into the connector, you got to think of a few things. You got to make sure that if you're going to use some shrink tube, you put that on first. You want to put the strain relief on. Of course, in my case, I don't have to, because I can put this on afterwards, but I would be putting another end on usually on these. So I want to make sure I've got everything on there in place and ready to go. So I just have it there already. And then all I'm going to do is take my color coding chart, whatever it is, my schematic, and I'm just going to push these pins down through into the connector, and I'll push them down. You can, using, like, it's always good to use like a little lubricant, so maybe some silicone spray. When I'm out in the field, I just spit on them. Anything just to kind of loosen it up so you can slide them in easier. But you always want to make sure you kind of have them nice and straight when you're pushing. So in this case, I'm just going to show you one. You don't need to see every single one of them, but I'm going to do B here. And all I do is, first I'm going to spit on this one. And I just line it up and just push it. And as long as I'm pushing straight, you can hear it and you get a nice positive click. See how easy that went in there? And they're all like that. If you just, don't be impatient. Don't try and muscle them in. It just takes technique, and they'll all go in very easily. Okay, and then once I'm done putting all the wires in, I just slide my, I'm just going to tuck these in there just so I can show you. I'm just going to slide my strain relief down over top. This goes through here, and then that'll just screw down on top of the connector. And then once that's all screwed down, like so, just slide it up here. And you just want to tighten these screws around it. What this does is it transfers the pressure onto the outside of the cable. So if you do happen to hook it on something and it gets pulled, it's pulling on the outside of the connector and not on the connections. Right, so now I've got that strain relief in there. It's not going to let you pull these connections apart. It still will eventually if you hit something, but it might tear the sheathing and everything. It might make it so that it can be torn apart. And Deutsch, generally, if the crimp's done right, they will come out of their contact points and you'll still be able to put them back in again. So you'll be able to take the connector apart, push everything back in again, and it should all be in great shape. That's if you use the right crimping tool. If you use the wrong crimping tool, they'll all come apart and you have to figure out what to do. You have to buy new pins and redo it again. But yeah, so that's it. That's how easy it is. Using the right tools on a Deutsch connector. So once I've got it kind of lined up and I can feel that it's in there, then I give it a nice good squeeze. I'll move it around a little bit so I get the entire crimp, and it folds it over just beautifully. And that's just using the 2018. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it again on the bigger ones. Sometimes these little ears are folded out, so you just want to give it a little pinch and make sure that it's lined up there, because you want it to center into the center of the crimping tool. And I look at my pin here too, make sure everything's centered. And I just give it just a light squeeze to start so that it pulls it into the wire. I don't want to squeeze down as hard on this one. And you'll see it's nicely in there. It's holding. It's got a nice crimp. And now we'll go into the next one. So same thing, I can do this a little bit faster now. You can just keep rewinding this if you want to see how it's done. But again, the 2018, you can see the numbering on here. Center it. And I just want to hold with my other hand. I just hold it just to make sure it doesn't twist on me. I got it. Give it a good squeeze. Pulls it in. I obviously didn't squeeze it hard enough. Okay. And if I want a little bit more, I can use the 24, 22. Just give it a little bit more, but don't go down so far. Just give it a little bit of a squeeze just to make sure it's all pulled in there nicely. So I'm just going to grab this one now, throw it into place here. Give it a good squeeze, move up to the shielding, pinch it together a little bit just to make sure it's centered. Give it a little squeeze, just so it bites down into that shielding nicely. Okay, now it's in there nice and tight. Now we'll do the signal ones. These are a little bit different. They've just got like a little barrel. So they don't actually go around the shielding because the shielding is too thick for this gauge of pin. That's kind of the weird thing about this is they've got power pins which take more current and then signal pins which are smaller. So everything's a little bit tight here. It's tight on the power, but it's kind of loose on the signal. So we got to make sure we've got a good crimp going on in there. So now we're going to use on the signal, we use the 2018 on here because it's the same size wire. You just want to center it. Again, you'll feel it kind of fall into position, and then you'll just give it a nice solid crimp. You'll see it in there. Came out beautifully.